So you've all probably heard Trump's got this new policy plan he's calling the one big beautiful bill. Sorry, what? Like that sounds less like legislation and more like a cologne from Dollar Tree. Introducing big beautiful bill for men who smell like hedge fund corruption and broken promises. Y'all, this isn't a bill. It's a demolition notice for anyone who's ever used public services without owning a yacht. It's like Congress asks, how can we make life worse for the people who voted for us and then gaslight them into thanking us for it? I mean, let's break this shit down. First, there's tax cuts, permanent tax cuts for the wealthy. Because obviously, what America needs right now is fewer dollars going to education and more going into Elon Musk's experimental penis rocket fund. You know how much the average tax cut will save a middle class family? About 200 bucks. Yep, that's right. Barely enough to cover a Target run and a bottle of antidepressants you're going to need once this bill kicks in. Meanwhile, the top 1%, they're getting over 200,000 in tax breaks. That's not a tax cut. That's a fucking dowry. They're going to start rearranging marriages between hedge funds and golf courses. You remember when the Republicans used to hide this shit behind buzzwords like job creation and economic stimulation? Now they just come right out and say it. We're robbing you to fund a billionaire's seventh vacation home in the Maldives. What are you going to do? Vote Democrat? and how are they paying for this giant hand job to the ultra rich? Oh, just slashing Medicaid and Medicare by hundreds of billions of dollars. So let me say this again for the people in the far back. They're robbing healthcare from the elderly, the disabled, and low income families so that the Walton family can buy a bigger yacht that comes with a helipad that has its own yacht. Up to 8.6 million people will lose healthcare coverage under this shit show. That's basically the population of New York City being told, hey, if you get cancer, try essential oils and hope. And we're not just talking about faceless statistics. These are real human beings. Seniors who have worked their whole goddamn lives being told, sorry, grandma, no cataract surgery. Should have invested in crypto. And kids with disabilities losing home health services. Moms skipping insulin just so their kids can eat. That's what's being gutted. This bill is a death sentence for vulnerable Americans. If you're poor, disabled, elderly, or chronically ill, you just got thrown under the capitalist bus. And spoiler alert, that bus doesn't have wheelchair access anymore because they cut infrastructure grants too. And let's not forget, these are the exact communities that are most likely to have voted for Trump. Working class white folks in rural areas who depend on Medicaid and Medicare. Congrats, motherfuckers! You just voted to get punched in the pancreas and billed for it. I mean, the irony is so fucking thick, it's practically a pre existing condition. This is why I want to sit down with a Trump voter on Medicaid and be like, hey, buddy, you still feel like you're owning the libs? Nah, man, I can't afford insulin now. Cool. Well, the libs can still see, walk, and afford prescriptions, so look like you just owned yourself. Let's talk about the GOP, that grand old party, or as I like to call them now, the government of plutocrats. The GOP is no longer a political party. It's a fucking Ponzi scheme for the ultra rich, using poor people's resentment as the bait and racism for the glue. These assholes have built a two-tiered political system. One that's for the wealthy elite, where taxes are optional, laws are negotiable, and healthcare is a concierge. And then there's one for the rest of us, where getting sick means choosing between insulin and rent, and your boss decides whether or not your kids actually eat. The GOP has weaponized policy like a drunk dad with a belt. You either pull yourself up by your bootstraps or you're lazy. Can't afford health care? Well, maybe you shouldn't have been born poor, you fucking burden. Meanwhile, a hedge fund manager can write off a luxury boat as a business expense. And let's be clear, this isn't by accident. This is by design. They don't want working class people healthy. They don't want them educated. They want them barely surviving, too sick to fight back and too broke to leave the goddamn job. This is late stage capitalism dressed in a MAGA hat and a "Don't Tread on Me" bumper sticker, while actively treading on every goddamn American making less than $400,000 a year. You ever notice how GOP policies hurt the very people who vote for them? It's like you all have Stockholm syndrome mixed with Fox News and fentanyl. Sure, I lost my Medicare, but my job got shipped to Malaysia and my trailer's on fire, but at least I pissed off the libs and made them cry. Newsflash, you're not owning the libs. You're getting owned by billionaires who think your town is a punchline and your life is disposable. Now let's talk about the other side of this shit sandwich. Before the liberals in the crowd start clapping too loud, sit the fuck down because we're not done. Because while the GOP was lighting the house on fire, what did the Democrats do? They showed up with a squirt gun, asked if they could be bipartisanly negotiate with the flames. Then they took donations from Big Gas to host a climate change panel in a wine cave. Democratic leadership, and I use that term like a crusty hotel uses continental breakfast, has become a collection of career politicians who've confused civility with complicity. Chuck Schumer, more like Chuck Sedated. He's been in the Senate since AOL CDs came in the mail and has the fire of a wet candle. And Nancy Pelosi, God bless her, Taylor, but she treats progressive ideas like gluten, something she tolerates in public but spits out in private. And Biden, look, I'll take him over the spray tan fascist any day, but let's not pretend that he's not the political equivalent of a beige recliner, safe, sleepy, and always half broken. These people didn't resist the system. They were just managing it. They're playing slow pitch softball while the GOP is playing Hunger Games, billionaire edition. And we don't need Democrats who fight fair. We we need Democrats who just actually fight, who stop negotiating with bad faith fascists like they're brunching at a fucking country club. We need to stop recycling the same old neoliberals who think progressive means funding Amtrak slightly more. We don't need another build back better speech. We need a burn the goddamn system down and rebuild it movement. We need fucking fighters, not fundraisers, not consultants, and not half dead centrists whose idea of bold policy is increasing Pell Grants by $8. We need a political movement that says housing is a right, healthcare is a human necessity, billionaires are a fucking policy failure, and we don't negotiate with hostage takers in red ties. The truth is, the system isn't broken. It's working exactly as designed. And both parties, yes, both fucking parties are too busy playing hot potato with lobby checks to fix it. So I'm not here for the big, beautiful bills being written by big, beautiful ghouls in suits that cost more than my annual income. I'm here to say what they won't say on CNN. Fuck your bipartisan unity if it means kicking people off healthcare. Fuck civility if it means letting corporations write policy. And fuck any Democrat who still thinks compromise with fascists is actual patriotism. Either you stand with the people or you stand with the profits, but it's one or the other, motherfuckers. And if that makes you uncomfortable, good. That's the whole fucking point.